Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Neil Lennon and Tom McManus with me here. Delighted that you could join us as well. And if you want to join the football family and keep up to date with all the breaking football news, you can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We dearly love you to join us. And if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking football news at your fingertips, not only from here in the UK, European and world football. So, lots to talk about, and here's what we will be discussing today.
Phillipe Clement says he's wary of calling his Rangers side a machine after St Mirren victory.
Because the moment players start to think that it's something that is normal and the machine just goes.
Brendan Rogers hits back at booing fans after a 1-0 Ross County win. Barry Robson on Aberdeen pressure as his side remain 8th in the Premiership.
I think when I've been here, for the minute I've been here, I've been under pressure as an Aberdeen manager, and anybody who's been an Aberdeen manager is going to tell you that.
David Martindale admits responsibility with Livingston now winless in 14 league games.
Coaches the players, and it's me picks the team, and it's me recruits the players, so I think I've got to take full responsibility for that.
Yeah, lots to discuss. The ups and downs of being a football manager, especially in the Scottish Premiership, where it's getting down to the nail biting for some managers because fans are not happy. We'll discuss that in all the games. Here's the Scottish Premiership results from the weekend. We'll also be looking at your transfer activity as well from your favourite team. It was St Mirren 0, Rangers 1, Celtic 1, Ross County 0, Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0, Kilmarnock 2, Hibernian 2, Livingston 1, Dundee 4, and St Johnston 1, Motherwell 1. So, a slender win for both halves of the Old Firm. Rangers got their only goal through Cyriel Dessers, and they're singing a song that I think you'll remember from the days when you were actually playing football. Ruffy, it's nice one, Cyriel, nice one, son, let's have another one. He's amiable, certainly when he comes into the press conference. Nice lad. Some people still waiting to be convinced, but can I tell you something, Ruffy? This boy scored 12 goals.
Yeah, and if you look at the goal he scored at the weekend there, it was a wee bit special. He took it down quite well and tapped it away, and he is scoring goals now, and he's one of these players that was Rangers when they came here. I think everybody after a month were deciding he's no the quality that Rangers were looking for, but he's hitting the back of the net, and I'm sure the supporters will now be right behind him.
Yeah, of course, relentless machine. Lots of adjectives to describe Rangers. Phillipe Clement just wants them to keep winning.
It's dangerous to start calling it a machine, because the moment players start to think that it's something that is normal and the machine just goes, then the machine will stop. So we need to continue what we have been doing, and that's showing really good mentality all the time, all the players available, whoever is playing, because we are also the only team who will play in 3 competitions still, so we will have more games than all the other teams.
You'll not be one really bothering that much, Neil, about the statistics as long as they keep winning.
No, I mean, difficult place to go, difficult conditions, and it's a good away win. You know, St Mirren always make life difficult for teams that go there. And off the back of a very good win at the Hibs the other night, it's ticking off another result. I'm not sure they're the finished article yet by any means, but winning breeds confidence. But we've seen this story before, you know, where they can beat the other teams, and you know they've got to get over that one where they beat Celtic now as well. Yeah,
if they are missing little bits of the jigsaw, which of course Neil's mentioned, I've mentioned that I think they're missing that little bit of flair in their side to get the bums off the seats. They've been linked with 20-year-old Lens winger Oscar Cortez. They've also, by all accounts, been closing in on a deal for Fluminense left-back Jefta, and maybe looking to try and get some players going out who are not going to feature. I mean, I think Jose Cifuentes is digging his heels in at the moment, but there's a possibility he could be on his way out to Turkey. So clearly, I think it's going to be really hectic for Rangers to try and supplement that squad to make the battle for the title, because that's exactly what it's all about.
Yeah, and as the manager said there, they're in 3 competitions. They're going to be playing a lot of games, you know, Thursday, Sunday. They need a big squad of players. I think he's trying to get the guys on the fringes out that he doesn't see, you know, as being part of the future of the Rangers. And he's trying to get players in. 2 20-year-olds are already signed, a 21-year-old. So I think you can see there's a change in the signing policy at Rangers. They're trying to sign younger players to maybe sell on, whereas maybe in the past I've went for older players that the kind of finished article. So, no, listen, I think I watched the game. It was a poor game of football. It was blowing a gale. The pitch was poor. Neil knows, you just go and win the games and you get down the road, take 3 points and you move on to the next game.
Will St Mirren feel slightly aggrieved they didn't get something from it?
Yeah, I think Butland had 2 or 3 saves, at crucial times, and if St Mirren were to get a goal, it would have given them that wee bit of a lift. But at the end of the day, I think they just saw the game out. But I think if you were the St Mirren manager, you would have thought you were worthy of at least a draw.
Stephen Robson himself reckons the difference between the two sides was the finishing prowess of Cyriel Dessers.
Rangers knew they were going to get tested today. We done that. I don't think conditions suited the other team, so it's not like it suited us better than it suited them. When we went to Ibrox, we tried to pass the ball and we moved the ball like they did. And there wasn't a lot between the teams, so that's the credit I take out of it. What it's shown me today is we're a very good side. I believe we've made some very good signings to strengthen us. And we didn't have a Dessers in the team that could make the difference in terms of taking a chance. But ultimately, if you play like that, you'll win more games than you'll lose.
Well, one of his loan signings, Quan, certainly looked lively. I think the proof will be in the pudding over the next 5 or 6 months if he can add to it. And Stephen Robson was certainly glowing in his praise of some of the players that he put on the park. You mentioned one player there for Rangers, and Jack Butland. I think we've been very complimentary towards him. You think the biggest stumbling block might be this impression of Scottish football. Is there a chance he can force his way into England's European thoughts?
On the form, yeah, but they don't equate our game up here as being done in the English Premier League, and I think they're not at a good stage, England, just now with goalkeepers. They don't have the big name goalkeepers. They've got Pickford, who comes in with a lot of criticism, so it depends if he ticks the box, if somebody's going up watching in the form that he's in, and the form that he's in is good enough for me to be at least a number 3.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ruffy. I like him.
Oh, he's been terrific. Great sign. Look, he'd always pedigree, and he lost his way a little bit, whether it be through loss of form or injury. But you can see what a good goalkeeper he is. He's been a very good signing for Rangers, and I spoke to Paul Lambert about him. Paul had him at Stoke, and he said, look, he's a very talented goalkeeper. The other thing is he's got good physical attributes. He's a big boy. He made a great save at the weekend with his legs as well. So, yeah, he's been a huge signing for Rangers this season.
Yeah, just before we talk about Celtic against Ross County, on behalf of everyone on the football show, our thoughts, condolences and prayers go out to Stuart Gray's family, who must be at this point absolutely devastated with the loss of their son. He was only 50 years of age, played for Celtic, of course the son of Eddie Gray and the nephew of Frank Gray, 2 legends for Leeds United. He came through the academy, and 50 years of age, Neil, is just so young.
Yeah, it's horrendous. And, I've met Stuart once or twice over the years. Good player, good pedigree. Yeah, it's devastating. And, met Eddie many times down in England. You know what he's been, an ambassador. Not really a great player, but a great ambassador for Leeds. He's an absolute gentleman. So, yeah, everybody will be feeling that loss. And, like you just said, our condolences go to everyone in the Gray family. It's such a synonymous name in footballing circles.
Yeah, absolutely, and some nice tributes, including one from Celtic as well, and Leeds United and other clubs that have and people who have been associated and friends with Stuart and the family. As far as Celtic are concerned, in the present day, Callum McGregor made his 450th appearance. He's one of those boys that he could easily go on to 900 the way he's looking.
Yeah, listen, he's got so much in the legs still. I think he's a terrific footballer. He's come through the ranks at Celtic, and 450 appearances. I think he's won 20 plus trophies at Celtic as well. So, tremendous career, but still got a lot to offer. Probably just coming into the peak of his career just now, and he'll be looking to add to that trophy haul. But I think he's clearly going to see his career out at Celtic.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, Neil, and the medal haul is outrageous, isn't it? I mean, eight league titles, 5 Scottish Cups, 7 League Cups. I mean, that boy doesn't know how to get into a final and lose, does he?
That's 20 medals.
How many have you got?
As a player?
Yeah.
5, 4, 11. So I thought I was doing all right. He's got 20. I was only up here for, 6-7 years. I mean,
Did you get a League Cup medal with Leicester?
Oh, I got 2 there,
Yeah.
So 13. So they're, some people may say they're proper ones, Pete, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 13. Yeah, some
We'll get
people.
four- that means we get 14 between us.
He's special. He's a modern day great, I think, and for Celtic anyway. Just a model pro, but a brilliant player, go-to guy in the big games. Still has a lot to offer for Scotland as well. Listen, you can't take for granted how good he's been and the consistency he's shown over the years. I mean, 450 league games and 20 trophies, and he can go on to break all sorts of records, and he thoroughly deserves it.
Yeah, I'm digressing slightly because it's come into my head, and I think it's appropriate for yourself because you will have played alongside him. How many Northern Ireland caps have you got?
40.
40, and your man Steve Davis just announced his retirement at the weekend. 140. What a career!
I know. I mean, you're talking about Callum. Stephen's a similar type. Again, like, so consistent, humble, fantastic footballer, great lad, and again a great role model for any young player, and very intelligent player. And sorry to see him retire, but he had a really bad injury there, and he's 39. Without the injury, who knows what else he could have done? But I do know it'd be a huge loss for Northern Ireland. There's talk of maybe going in with the coaching staff, which would be brilliant for the squad, for someone to look up to and tap into. But yeah, you're talking about McGregor and Davis. They're very, very similar traits as players.
Yeah. Did you like playing with him and against him?
I never really. He was a bit young.
Yeah.
So when I coached against him, he was terrific, I have to say. One that you always wanted to try and stop him, having an influence on the game. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. To Celtic, Ruffy, they're winning games, but they're getting booed off the park.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you set the standards, particularly at home. I think the 50, 60,000 supporters who go there every week at Parkhead, you expect 4 or 5. And when it's only one, and it's one early on and nothing added to it, you can sense the frustration. But same again, you're winning games, you just have to find somebody to score a goal. Kyogo just went off it, and every player, doesn't matter what quality you are, there is a time when you stop scoring goals and you're relying on everybody else. And obviously the midfield have been chipping in, but I think Celtic desperately need a striker. Desperately.
Yeah.
I know we're all talking about Shankland. If Shankland is going to go, and if either of the two of them get him, I think that could be pivotal in the Premiership. The way he's playing now.
Yeah. Let's not labour too much on that because we're going to hear from Stevie Naismith a little later on. I still think he'll be a Hearts player by the end of the transfer window. Some might think differently. You never know. Money talks. As far as being booed off at the end, this is what Brendan Rogers had to say after their 1-0 victory. I've had that since I've been here. If it's not the result, it's me. If not me, the board. So all we can do as a team is win games, try to improve and develop, and win. That's what the team, beg your pardon, that's what the team has done. I have to say, Tom, looking at the team, looking at the time since he's come back, he's probably right. If it's not him, it's the players, it's definitely the board. There's a storm brewing, and it's just bubbling along at the moment, and it could actually gather a bit of pace if this transfer window goes the way of similar transfer windows.
Yeah, well, Celtic are again leaving it to the last minute to bring players in, and the fans just don't understand it. You've got a full month to bring players in. They're seeing their rivals across the city bringing in 2 or 3. Celtic have brought in one at the minute. There is a storm brewing. They want players in. They see the team's needing players. It's needing an injection of quality in the squad, and the result against Rangers, I think, took a little bit of pressure off of Brendan winning that game at home, because they were on a poor run before that. They lost a couple of games. But even, you've seen at the end of the game, I think it was Alistair Johnston, couldn't believe they were getting booed off, but they won the game. But that's the standards that you set at Celtic. They're expected to go and beat Ross County 3 or 4-0, especially if you score in the first couple of minutes. So they need players in, and you can sense from that a little bit snappy Brendan Rodgers there that he's clearly not happy with with a lack of new players in.
Yeah, they definitely need a striker. I mean, I look at no harm to the boy. You look at players and you can judge. It's your eyes; they don't deceive you. He's not lethal.
Who? Yeah, I mean, he's still a young player. You know, still for me a development player, and you know he is what he is. He's a squad player. Look, we've talked about this for a while, Pete. You know about the positions that we all feel that Celtic may need to strengthen. Will they do it between now and the end of the window? I don't know. Will they have an idea of we're happy with what we've got because you got Maeda and Hatate still to come back?
Yeah.
You know, and they'll make a big difference to the team. You know, going forward. I keep saying it ad nauseum. January is really difficult to do business, but if there's a deal to be done and it's the right one that the club and Brendan want, they'll try their best to do it. But I can't comment on that. I can only talk about my own experience.
Yeah, do you think it's a roll of the dice
For
the title,
no, I think Celtic will win it.
even with what they've got?
Yeah, I think you get Maeda, get Hatate back, keep the players that they've got already. They've shown me enough this year without being blowing everyone away. For me, at the minute, there's next 10 games, 7 are away and 3 are at home. That might suit them. I watched them at St Mirren the other week. I thought they were fantastic. You know, the blue St Mirren away, it could have been 5 or 6. And they're probably playing better away from home than they are at home, just with the added expectation and the pressure building. So it might do them good because teams will come out maybe away from home and have a go, whereas they're just coming up against a low block every time. It takes 2 teams to make a game of football, and the onus is always on Celtic to go and take the game to the opposition, but especially at home. It doesn't always come off on a 4 or 5-0 win, I get it, but I think the fans just want to see more spring, more sharpness, more attempts at goal.
Yeah, and picking up on that point, Ruffy, I think they wanted to see that from a manager early on who's wanted to put his own imprint on the team. I know Neil, when he came in, when we've discussed it before, said you want to keep the engine moving along until you can slowly but surely tweak things. But the way it's looking at the moment, it's not vibrant, it's not exciting. There's little flashes, as Neil mentioned, with the St Mirren game, but you get the Old Firm game where they defeat Rangers, which always helps. But are the Celtic fans right to boo, and are they right to expect a little bit more spark and a little bit more money spent?
No, I think that game in particular, as Tam said, they scored in the first or the second minute, they miss a penalty. Their goalkeeper has 3 or 4 magnificent saves. In any other given day, it could have been 4-1. It doesn't happen. So then the supporters start going, oh, why is it not happening? And they'll be looking at across the road, and Tam's touched on it, Rangers have brought in 3, maybe 4, and Celtic have only brought in 1, and they'll be going, why? We're the team with the money. Money should be no object. And I agree with what Neil's saying, it's difficult in a January window to bring people in, but surely if you're sitting with 80 million, it should be a wee bit easier to squeeze them in. I mean, Rangers are just bringing them in with the prospect of buying them at the end of the season. They're just putting them on wages. I just feel that a team like Celtic, I was going to ask Neil, when Neil was at Celtic, surely you need 2 or 3 strikers on the books. I mean, way back when you had Sutton, you had Larson.
Yeah, I mean,
you had
Larson.
Later on, you had
Hooper and Stokes.
You had
Griffiths and
do you think they're just relying on Kyogo coming back and hitting that for him? Because
I am worried if Kyogo gets injured. That would be a worry for me for the second half of the season. Do they have enough? In the central area, could you play Maeda through the middle? He's not what you would call a natural finisher. So yeah, I do think there's room to bring another one in, no question.
Yep.
It costs money. And it's all right saying Celtic have the money. What they've got to do, if they're going to spend money, is, in their eyes, bring in better than what they've already got.
Well, let me ask you the question then. I threw in Shankland. If you were there, would Shankland be somebody you'd be looking if it was going to cost you 4 million?
Yeah.
If it was going to win you?
Would you go to the board and say, listen, I want him?
We've talked about Shankland.
We've talked about it.
We've talked about it about Shankland and Miofsky, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Aberdeen fans or Hearts fans, always the speculation about players leaving because it's not right. But yeah, I mean, he scored another beauty at the weekend. Miofsky scored a beauty that was disallowed, which drove me mental. So those two, it would be the pick for me.
Yeah.
And they know the environment, and I'm sure they would go on to do better things at a club like Celtic with the coaching and the players around them.
Gustav Lagerbielke could be on his way out to Lecce on loan, and there's still a link with Sidney van Hooijdonk. I think a TNT commentator said he missed the Bologna game to sign a Celtic deal. Now, whether that materialises or not, only time will tell. As I think Neil mentioned, and Brendan will be looking at and saying, okay, might not be ideal timing late on, but he'll have a list and he'll have a discussion with the board to say, here's the targets I'd like to get in, whether it's a good window or not.
Yeah, I think Lagerbielke's just, I don't think Brendan fancies him. I think he's come in and he's not really played. I think they've got good cover at centre half now, Celtic, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him leaving. Van Hooijdonk, you know, as a player who's got a good pedigree, good goal scoring record wherever he's been. Obviously a big name to live up to, his father. So I think the Celtic fans would excite them, that signing as well. But I think they've got to get a striker in, Peter. I think that Kyogo is off the boil at the minute, and they need somebody in there pushing.
And I like Dutch people in our game. It's great in the press room. I've never met an introverted Dutchman in my life.
Pierre was shy. What a player he was.
Oh, he was
great player.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
but
a great player.
Great, really good lad. But
Lad.
Obviously, the one great thing about it is, you know, you always get a great opinion from Dutch players. I've never met one who was shy in a press conference. It's magic. They were. If you're talking about a lad or a team of the top 5, you know, you had Dutch players definitely up there, German players sensational in a press conference, and then there's a big gap, and then that's usually Lenny out in his own with Craig Levine. Those two, I used to just sit there and go.
That was brilliant. That was a great wee spell.
It was
the natural order and all that.
Yeah,
magnificent.
It was brilliant. You didn't even actually. Sometimes you didn't need to take the pin out of the grenade, Ruffy. You just let the two of them come in, and boom, they were away. Can I just pay tribute to Ross County, Ruffy, because you mentioned there about. You know, Celtic and the goalkeeper who made 2 great penalty saves, George Wickens, but they had chances as well. They hit the bar. Yeah. You know, they had a chance to get a draw at least.
A chance in the last minute when obviously Celtic got cut open a wee bit and the boy had the shot, but it went over the bar. But he'll be looking at that, and it's again we spoke about which team would bring in the most signings in January, and then against Ross County again. 7 or 8, and he threw 6 of them right into the game. Of course, he had to because
4 debutants and a couple that had made their debut the week before.
Because he'd been beaten by Partick the week before, so he just said, "Right, that's it."
Give me 6. Give me 6 in a difficult January transfer window.
Every manager's dream.
Absolutely.
Another 3 will come in before Thursday.
Absolutely. He was very positive at the end of the game about the graft that they'd given him.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I know. I thought Derek was trying to break into the top 5 with some of his comments, but you know, fair play to them. They made a go of it, and I don't know about you guys, but as we talk about the other teams at that bottom, I'm going to mention to you that you've got to have to come up with someone. I think Livingston are gone unless somebody's going to argue the point. But start thinking about who you think, on the basis of this next couple of days in that window, who you think is going to be the stonewall certainty in your mind, or as near as you can be that playoff position. We're going to talk about some of the teams here, and I think there's one significant thing that might sway your decision. Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0. You know, I enjoy going to Tynecastle, love the atmosphere of it. Some people are thinking Aberdeen have really got to produce the win there, but it was Hearts. I think they'll feel slightly aggrieved, as Neil rightly pointed out, Sam. The goal from Miovski was a peach, but the idea or the notion to go back and look for a trip that he didn't know anything about was a nonsense.
Just a coming together. It's just a coming together. It's not a foul for me, and you know, VAR, you want to see goals and entertainment. You know, you go and chop that off, you know, for something that happened maybe 5-10 seconds earlier, I think it's wrong. I think Aberdeen will feel hard done by. I think that the first probably hour of the game, they were probably the better side. But if you don't take your chances, you're always going to be up against it. And, you know, with Shankland, he scored a great goal again. Hearts have got third tied up for me. Hearts have got third tied up. I think they've shown consistency now. They're winning these games, and they're going to be a comfortable third for me.
Yeah. And see when you take goals, Neil, outside of his boot as well.
It's a tremendous goal.
I think he actually shoved the boy out the road to actually say, I'll take this. Boom.
But the other thing was hardly any backlift, Pete, as well. And the ball's sort of like in the middle of his feet, which is always a hard skill to do, and he's just gone and slewed it. It's a beautiful finish, but it's not just that. Like, you know, he showed all different type of finishes. I think when I watched him live there a few weeks ago in the Edinburgh Derby, I was really impressed with his hold-up play as well. We know he's not the quickest or the most, but he's so smart, and he's a top finisher.
Yeah.
You know, he's in the form of his life, you know, and he's been huge for Hearts. Like, but you got to give Stephen Naismith a lot of credit. They're playing a really good brand of football, and they're on a great run at the minute.
Yeah, 19 goals, Ruffy.
Yep. Yeah, I mean
28 last year.
28,
Really?
yeah. And he's been taking off the penalties, obviously, so that's going to cut him back a wee bit. But
Yeah.
with the goals that he's scoring, you just think that every time he's getting an opportunity, then he's going to hit the back of the net, or he's going to make the goalkeeper make a save. And you can see how much the rest of the team will respond to him when he scores. You know, they know they've got somebody there who's going to win games for them.
Well, is he on his way? I did ask the question to Stevie Naismith.
Don't expect to lose anybody. In terms of ins, it's well known, Scott Fraser's somebody that we're trying to bring, but we'll see how that develops. Change of manager and stuff is holding it up. And then it'll be reactive. We've got a great squad of players, and there's guys who haven't played as much as they want, and if they're looking to go and we can do it and maybe replace, then we might do it. But there's nobody desperately wanting to leave, but I can understand if they want more football, but we're not planning and being busy.
I hope he stays at Hearts.
I think the Hearts supporters will hope he stays. I mean, that was another 18,000 there.
Yeah.
You know, they don't need to sell. They're not needing the money, you know, so I'm sure at board and Stephen will be saying to the board, look, we don't need the money, you know, let's keep him in there, be in a Europa competition at the end if we stay third. So the money you think you're getting in will get back if he stays.
I see they were linked with two players today, James Penrice from Livingston, left back, and Danda.
Jan Danda,
from
they've got
Ross
a
County.
pre-contract.
I think they've been good at that the last couple of seasons. I think they've been good at cherry picking, you know, players maybe for the bottom six, the best players from a Livingston or a St Mirren or something like that. Yeah. And I think the last 3 seasons Hearts have been third, fourth, and they're going to be third again this season. And your Halketts, your Shanklins, you know, your Alan Forrests, all these guys have came from smaller clubs, and I think they've cherry picked those. Their recruitment's been good. They've got a good core there of Scottish players that know the league, and I think that's a big plus in where they're sitting in the league just now.
Yeah. A lot of people, you know, really look at times, you know, when you joined us 4 years ago and they've thought to themselves, he's a cheeky chappy, you know, and then over a 4-year period they've thought, Sam's quite intelligent. Do you find that your intelligence is based on the fact that you just read every note that I've put down on that computer? I mean, honestly, I'll flick through them and he'll go, oh yeah, scored 19 goals, scored 28 last year, you know. And I'm thinking,
You've not got 28 goals down there, sir.
He's unbelievable, honestly. He's like the pride of Britain, then he walks out here and just puts on a big giant cone. Anyway, apart from anything else, nice little touch, I must admit, at the start of the game, because Anne Budge came out and they unfurled the flag, 150th anniversary of Hearts as a football club. So, I mean, it was mobbed, and they did a nice programme with a little tribute and some of the great Hearts players down through the years. Programmes, it's such a rare thing now, isn't it?
Get your lunch and
I
all
got the whole thing, you know, starter, main course, you know, and then and a free scarf. It was all there.
Flag, wave for them.
As soon as she come on. And by the way, the only thing about it was the PR guy goes, and it's 150th anniversary, right? And they unfurl the flag, and there's 3 pipers and the guy with the trumpet. They put the flag and we went. I said to the boy, I can play the trumpet. He's murder. But anyway, it was a great tribute, 150 years, and the Hearts fans certainly enjoyed it with a double on the day, 2 goals to celebrate in that win over Aberdeen. And let's talk about Aberdeen, because I think they'll feel slightly miffed, Ruffy, with the Miofsky goal being chopped off. And of course, Aberdeen fans, with the banner saying Robson out, some fans have had enough of him. He's under real pressure now, but nothing that he's not used to, according to Barry Robson.
I think when I've been here, for the minute I've been here, I've been under pressure as an Aberdeen manager, and anybody who's been an Aberdeen manager is going to tell you that. And I'm no different. I understand the club, I know the demands of the club. So for me, I get that. But we need to keep working, we need to keep going, we need to... that performance today for the first 65 minutes, you need to give that for the whole 90 minutes.
Well, they're not doing that. That's it.
They're not winning games. That's the problem. And I know they've got 3 games in hand. He needs the 3 games, particularly if they're at home. He needs to win them. He needs to get them into the top 6 and challenging, or threatening to challenge the 4th or something like that. And I think if that doesn't happen, then he should be under pressure. But I still think when I see them, just like you said there, for 45 minutes of the game they look good, and for the other 45 minutes they don't. They've certainly got strikers that should get them at the dilemma that they're in, but they've got to start winning games.
Yeah, Tam, I mean, the obvious thing I'm looking at, I mean, there's only once throughout the entire season where they've managed 3 consecutive wins. You're never sure what you're getting with them.
No, and I think the quality of squad they've arguably the best striker in the division as well. For them to be sitting in 8th just now is poor. You know, the money they pay, the budget, you know, they spent money in the summer, you know, they paid fees, you know, for players, 300, 400, 500 grand. You know, they were decent in Europe, you know, so for them to be sitting 8th in my opinion, a substandard Premier League, I think it's nowhere near good enough. And he's got 2 home games coming up, I think, you know, against Hibs and Dundee, and you know, he's got to start winning games, or else the pressure is going to increase on him. And the Aberdeen fans have made their mind up already, Peter. I think the majority of them want him out the door.
If I was looking at the problems, Neil, in that side and thinking, what is wrong with it? Nicky Devlin apart, who I think is a shining light in the back end for them. I think the back line is weak, and I think the middle of the park is even weaker. It's not a midfield that can dominate games, grab it by the scruff. They're too small, and they don't have any steel about them.
No, and they lack creativity as well for me. I don't think the goalkeeper's covered himself in glory the last few games as well. So I think they'll be all right, Pete. You know, with the 3 games in hand, I don't know how far they're off 6th place. Maybe only be 3 or 4 points. I think they can make that up, and then things start to look a little bit better. But what the Aberdeen fans want is to see a style of play and a consistency of performance, which is probably what they're not seeing at the minute. And with the investment in the team, they'll be expecting better. But I don't like this, you know, this pile-on that comes for coaches, you know, when this campaign starts to build about getting them out and stuff like that. I don't like that at all. I think it's unnecessary. I don't think he deserves a sack at the minute, but obviously he knows, and he said that results and performance need to improve. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think they can challenge for maybe 4th place. I think 3rd place is gone now, which might be a bit of disappointment to the Aberdeen board.
Well, I know it's difficult for you because you've been a manager and you know the pressures and you know exactly what it's like when people are, as you say, clamouring for somebody to get the sack. From our point of view, I don't think we're guilty of steaming in on anybody.
No, I'm not referring.
But what I'm saying, no, I'm not
about the fans.
I'm talking about
the banners.
But I'm talking about overall. If they have, the point I was about to make is not whether we are steaming in and trying to defend PLZ or Sky or Radio Scotland or BBC Scotland. What happens eventually is you have to look at the stats. If you go to the games, you look at the way they play, and you call it. And I'm looking at the side and I'm saying to myself, you said they'll be all right. Well, they'll be all right because they're never going to get relegated with this team because they're too good to get. They're good enough not to get relegated, I think. But the Aberdeen fans are looking and saying, wait a minute, we thought that Dave Cormack was backing you and this was going to be the battle
Won
for
6
third.
games out of 20.
He's already said the third's gone. That's not good enough for Aberdeen.
Gone.
So third's gone, so they're going for 4th. And it's just not good enough.
Well, there are Neil will tell you, the beginning of the season, the manager meets the board and the targets are discussed there and then, and the manager gives his view and the board give their view what the budget is should materialise at the end of the year, and there'll be stuff on the table for Barry, you know, and he'll know what he's got to achieve because that's what he said he's going to achieve, or they want him to achieve it. So I think you've got to wait until these achievements aren't going to happen. You know, and I don't think they're that far away.
No, that's what I mean. They'll be all right, Pete, in terms of, I think they'll comfortably in the top 6. Where they finish in the top 6 remains to be seen.
I think if they don't get in the top 6,
he's in big trouble.
And then that's when you have the discussion.
Okay, that's from this end of the camp. Dare I suggest? Sorry, sorry. Dare I?
Loaded weapons over here.
Dare I suggest, on the basis that I'm looking at it, I'll be blunt with you. He loses to Dundee and they'll be storming the gates.
Dundee at home is a big game for him because he's at Celtic after that. So, yeah, he needs to start winning games. He's won 6 out of 20 league games. They've got 3 games in hand over Kilmarnock, who are sitting in 4th, and they're 9 points behind them. So, you know, they're not a million miles away from 4th, but he needs to start winning games and he needs to win home games. I think the home games, Ruffy always says, you know, the home games where the supporters are there, then you need to win those games. So, he is under pressure. And if he loses to Dundee, then it's going to increase. Yeah.
Okay. What about your boys? 2-2, came back fighting.
Yeah, they did. I think that second half performance was. I watched the game. Second half performance was a lot better than the first. I think go 2-0 down early doors. Joe Neal scores a great goal.
Oh,
you know, great goal with his right foot. You know, just guides it into the top corner. You know, and then the pivotal moment in the game for me is a red card. You know, for me it's never a red card. I know Derek McInnes was raging about it after the game. It's the second time he's been done this year with a dodgy red card against Hibs, and that changed the game. Hibs got a lift for that. My leader goes through, scores a great goal, and I thought Hibs were going to go and win the game. You know, Christian Doyle just got a great chance in the last minute header. Expect him to score that. You know, and that would have gave the whole place a lift to come back for 2-0 down and win 3-2. They pick up a point, and I suppose that's better than nothing. And the most important thing for me is 2 or 3 of the new players. They look good, and I think you can see they get a couple more games under their belt. Marcondes in particular, I thought he was excellent. I think you can see that they're good footballers, but they just need games. They're not fit enough at the minute.
Yeah, and of course, over and above that, the one really good bit of news is, you know, there's a real sense from them that maybe they can get the cash they were looking for. Maybe they can get the Bournemouth owner in some capacity without him dictating what happens at the club, but have a role.
Yeah, I think that's going to get through this week, Peter. So I'm hearing, I think that's going to get, you know, rubber stamped this week, which will give the whole club a lift. I think that sort of money, you know, that's going to come into the club will enable Nick probably to go and target a better calibre player. I think they've got a couple on loan from Bournemouth. They signed one permanently on loan from Bournemouth. So I think that signs that the deal is going to go through shortly. And as long as it's not filled with Bournemouth players, as long as there's no 5 and 6 Bournemouth players and they're calling the tune, you know, they're saying to Nick Montgomery, right, you're taking him. You know, as long as that's, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's a fear, maybe among some Hibs supporters, but I don't think that's going to happen. And all of a sudden, you know, if that money comes in and Hibs just, you know, start to win a few games, you can see a wee bit of light that wasn't there, I don't think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, Bill Foley, possible £6 million investment. You know the alarm bells will be ringing if Hibs' away strip is red and black stripes. Then we're all in trouble. But as far as the game is concerned, you say never a red card. What's your take?
Yeah, I don't think it was a red card either. You know, when you're making a tackle, sometimes you cannot control the follow through. I didn't think that it was enough force. He wins the ball and he catches the player, I think, on the
ankle.
The ankle. Yeah. You know, and how that's deemed a red card, Pete, is beyond me, because I wouldn't play the game. You know, because when you're going in for a tackle, it's hard to control your follow through sometimes. I thought it was a real, genuine attempt to win the ball. I didn't think there was any aggression from the player. And the only thing he could say is he probably tackled with his wrong leg because he's tackling with his left. But to deem that, I thought the initial card, the yellow, would have been more than sufficient.
Yeah. I was worried about Charlie McGregor when he said that. It leaves it wide open for the 6 asides. I'll be
looking forward to that.
I'm 2-footing him.
I'll bring a VAR. I'll bring a VAR in.
Ruffy, red or not?
No, for me. I think if the initial connection was on the boy's ankle, yeah. But I think again, it's VAR looking at a still of the end product of the boy's ankle being, you know, practically twisted. You know, and you're going, God, how dangerous is that? But as Neil said, it's a follow through. You can't determine where that foot's going to end up.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what Derek McInnes was saying.
For Nick Walsh and VAR to get involved in that, I find really disappointing, strange, to be honest, because it's not as if, unless there's a different angle that, as I say, that I've not seen, and I've seen a few now, but it's not dangerous, it's not violent, he's not high, he's not in at excessive speed, he's not in to hurt the boy, he's won the ball. And And yes, there's a follow through, but it's no. I don't know what Ndapa's meant to do.
Yeah, he's. I think we're all behind Derek on this one, but good signs for Hibs if they can get that investment. Livingston 1, Dundee 4. I think at this moment, David Martindale, I think in his own mind might be thinking, okay, I'm going to have to build a team in the Championship next season.
Yeah, they're gone, Peter. I don't see it at all. He's not got money to bring players in. It's not as if, it's maybe a bigger club. You can say, well, go and get 4 or 5. I think he's struggling to bring one. I think he brought any in. Brought a couple maybe. They're gone for me, and it's just a question of, you're right, looking ahead to next season. Whether he's still going to be there, who knows. But, I feel for him. I think he's 13, 14 games without a win. It must grind on a manager, never mind a player.
Yeah.
And, they're not scoring goals. They lost 2 goals against 10 men as well at the weekend. So, there's something not right in there, and it looks as if their long spell in the Premier League's come to an end.
Yeah, and the manager himself, and we've had him in, I've got a lot of respect for him, he's not shirking the responsibility.
Our problems are all coming from individuals not doing the basics. It's just generally the basics. But I think I've got to take full responsibility for that, because it's me that coaches the players, it's me that picks the team, and it's me that recruits the players. So I think I've got to take full responsibility for that.
He's normally enthusiastic. Sometimes you get a wee joke out of him, and he loves his football, but you can tell that the pressure's kicking in.
Yeah, he's feeling it. What he's achieved at that club has been remarkable, Peter, over the years. And he's not getting the help that he maybe deserves. And, you can't imagine Livingston without him. Like, I get to the point where he's taking full responsibility, but it's not all on David. Like, you know what I mean? Some of the goals, as Tom alluded to, were pretty poor individual mistakes, and he can't take all the blame for that. And the fact that he hasn't had much support this season. We always knew before a ball was kicked, that Livy would be in a bit of trouble if, the budget keeps getting cut every year. How can you keep progressing? You can't, it's impossible.
As far as being a manager of a team in your first time in the Scottish Premiership, Tony Docherty's done all right, hasn't he?
He's doing great, Peter. I think it was a surprise to a lot of people that he got the job. I thought he was kind of quite happy. Obviously, he wasn't, to be Derek McInnes's number 2, but he's been up there, and I think he's done really, really well. I think I've said it so many times this season. They've got a nice blend of experience and youth. They've got legs in the middle of the park. I like the wee boy McCowan. I think he's excellent.
Red card?
Yeah, I think it was. Mulligan. They've got. He's been able to bring a couple of decent players up and on, particularly Beck. From Liverpool. So I think between him and Stuart Taylor, they've got good contacts on both sides of the border, and I think that served them well. And as I said, I don't think they'll be in any trouble. I think they'll be safe, and fair play to the new boy Mellon. The manager squeezing the best out of him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on. No, I can't believe you jumped at it. Honestly, why did you do that?
It's just that wee smirk he has on his face.
I could see it coming a mile off. I thought, I'll turn away, and you jump in and go. You just don't respond. You've got to move on. Yeah, you don't get that in RTE, do you? Back down to earth with that. Absolutely. Anyway, apart from anything else, Tony Docherty, as Tom mentioned there, well happy with the way they're playing, especially bouncing back from that midweek defeat to Hearts.
I thought the mentality of the group, the spirit of the group, the resilience of the group was there for everybody to see, and it shows you I've not just got a talented group of players. I've got a real spirit in that dressing room, and that was typified today by the performance. And I thought on top of that, how clinical we were when we got those opportunities. It was a real solid team performance and a massive game, I've got to say. And I'm just delighted with the boys, really, really proud of them, and proud that they're getting the recognition for that, because they came in for a bit of a beating after Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Aberdeen Dundee. How do you see that one going?
Well, we've already discussed it. It's got to be a home win. It's got to be something. He's relying on his strikers to get him out yet, but we've discussed it in full. If it doesn't go that way, then
we never said who we thought was going to win, Ruffy. I know we've discussed it in full.
Well, I'll go Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen. I saw Aberdeen actually Tottenham game this year at, at Easter Road, and I was impressed with
Was
him.
that when you were cheered on after you had the start of the main course in the suite? Yes.
Is that a Hall of Fame thing?
I'm missing out on all of this hospitality at clubs and that. You know?
This is the
You've got to
only
be
way
a-
Ruffy goes
you've
to
got
a
be
game
Hall
now.
of Famer.
Oh, is he a Hall of Famer at Archerfield as well?
Can I just say to you,
That Italian restaurant.
and I don't mean to put you on a downer. He's Hall of Fame at Partick Thistle. He's Hall of Fame at Hibs. He's Hall of Fame Scotland, and he's Hall of Fame Glenafton.
Juniors. Yeah.
Yep. And also, when they eventually lower the standards to only 6 appearances, he'll be Hall of Fame Celtic. So, okay.
I don't think Aberdeen will beat Dundee.
No,
I think it's Dundee to get a result.
I think they'll get a
Wee boy
draw.
McCowan's a blow for him. He's suspended.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-1. What do you
I
think?
think one each. I think they can get a draw.
I'm going Aberdeen.
I'm
win?
going Aberdeen as well.
Yeah.
See how we get away
2-1,
for,
did you say?
see how we get away for the relegation discussion there. I'm going to do a TAM here. After the Scottish Cup results the other week there, I think there's 2 Premier League teams going to get relegated this
Oh, hang fire. Just before you say that, St Johnston 1, Motherwell 1, and then you can give me your thoughts, and we'll throw something in that might influence you guys on who's getting relegated. St Johnston 1, Motherwell 1. St Johnston took the lead. Bear equalised, and then from there, it was just a stalemate.
Yeah, well, I think I called it in the preview show. Stonewall draw. Looked like a draw all over it. Not much between the teams. Both managers reasonably happy that they got a point out of the game.
Stuart Kettle not happy with the referee.
Nah, he's not happy with the referee, but I don't think a lot of managers are happy with the referees at the minute. But he seems to have gotten the best out of the boy Bear. I think that he was at St Johnston and didn't do much, but he's starting to score goals for them, and that could be the difference between them staying up. But I think both of those clubs, Motherwell and St Johnston, will be in the mix for the playoffs.
Okay, look at the Premiership table. Give us your thoughts on who you think. If we think Livingston's gone, there's a big second half of the season to come. It can take a few twists and turns, especially over the next few days. Additional signings. Motherwell, St Johnston and Ross County, because Neil, you've already said Aberdeen will be okay.
Yeah.
So if Motherwell, St Johnston and Ross County, who's in that second bottom place?
St Johnston.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know Craig's done really well.
I think he's had a wee initial boost, but it's not got.
I don't know if they'll score enough goals, Tom.
They've scored 2 goals away from home all season in the league, Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their away record's poor. They've got 2 points.
Ross County have
No,
done obviously done a bit of business. Ross County.
He came in with that was his only start.
You should start making a couple up so you read it. From a curveball.
I'm going to do that. But can I just say something to you? And this is where your experience down through the years, when you look at teams, when I look at teams at the bottom end, and I think who has got the capability to get away from that playoff place, I always look and say, is there a team that's got a player who can score 10 goals? And 10 goals from a striker or someone usually gets you away. I can't see it for Motherwell. I think Motherwell are in trouble unless they get a striker in the next few days, because Theo Bayer, lovely big guy, trying his best, but I just don't think they've got 6 goals.
Who would get them for St Johnston?
Well, Nicky Clark's out.
Well, that's the other thing about it as well.
Kane's not scoring.
You're wondering, have they got a goal scorer in them? Can they sign one? I just look and I say, if there's nobody there who's got a goal scorer, I think Ross County have got a couple that might get them away from it.
I agree with Neil. I think St Johnston. I think away from home, I don't think they've won a game this season. Their away record's really, really poor. And don't score enough goals for me, so I'm going to go St Johnston, playoff.
I'm
It's
worried.
still really early to say it, because
is.
you know what it's like. Even the split, after the split, it can be decided then, Peter, and we're
Yeah.
still well away from that. It's really hard to make predictions, but just looking from the overall picture, I think Motherwell, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
I think they've had their bad run. I think we'll pick up a few results as we go along, and I think Ross County will be all right. So I'm looking at St Johnston thinking Craig's going to have his work cut out,
Yeah, that's the other thing about it. Experienced managers. I'm worried about Motherwell. I hope they're going to be all right.
Yeah, I think they will as well. I
Yeah.
think they've experienced being down there. They experienced the turmoil of what happens when you're in a playoff. To go back to what I said earlier on, in the evidence of Partick Thistle going up there and beating Ross County 3-0, I think the top 3 in the Championship will take anybody who's on that second bottom place, because I think they'll fancy themselves.
You're going to go for 2 teams coming up from the Championship.
Yeah, I think
Remember, it's heavily stacked against them in the playoff
Yeah, no, well,
system, because they've got to play 6 games before they play the other 4 games.
I'm saying that the team that's sitting in second will fancy themselves against them too.
Yeah, and what do you think? Who do you think is going to be the 2 teams?
In the Championship?
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping one of them's Partick Thistle, but Dundee United have got the pool. I know they're not getting the results, and their fans are beginning to get a bit unhappy, but I still think they've got enough to take them up.
Tam?
I think Dundee United will win it then. Raith Rovers, Partick Thistle. The only issue with me is the playoff system is so skewed in the favour of the Premier League club, because you've got to play, second v third or fourth v second play, then they're just waiting, then they're going to be fresh. They're going to have to play 4 games before you play them, so you've got to play 6 games. If you finish third or fourth, you're going to have to play all those games. Second place obviously gets a bye, but no, I think it's going to be difficult for the Championship team to come up. They should have come up last year. Partick Thistle blew it.
Yeah, absolutely. Down south, everybody was looking at how the Liverpool fans would react to that emotional message from Jurgen Klopp that he was going to leave the club at the end of the season, and it could have been a sideshow in the FA Cup match against Norwich, but they ran out 5-2 winners. An emotional "You'll Never Walk Alone" ahead of that match. And I think Jurgen Klopp, now that the cat is out of the bag, wants people to concentrate on just supporting their team in the bid for the 4 trophies.
We play on Wednesday again, and if any could ignore for 95 or 100 minutes that the manager's leaving at the end of the season, and just do everything to make it as uncomfortable for Chelsea as possible, that would be great. And I know the people know that as well, and so don't have to say it. But it was a wonderful afternoon in all parts of it.
Were you surprised by his decision?
Surprised by the timing of it, but not by his decision. I understand that he's been there for 9 years, and it does eat away at you eventually. He's just said his batteries are running low. They're having a big season. I think it took a lot for him last year to get through last season and then rebuild the team, and it's starting to show a bit of fruition again. He's going to take a year out and then maybe come back into football in some capacity, but what I will say is he's been a joy. I love watching his teams play. But I totally respect the decision, and I understand it as well.
Give us a wee insight into that, because some people
just just mentally drained, and it's 24/7.
How does it affect you in day to day? You've been there.
Yeah, day to day, your whole time's taken up with, the team, the media, meetings, preparation, game after game after game after game. Sometimes when it's game after game, it's not too bad, But then as soon as you win something, the whole process starts again, and you start building for the next season and for the next trophy chase. And he's been doing this for 9 years at the top level, so I get it. He's just running out of steam, and he probably feels he can't give his best. I did it after 4 years at Celtic, the first time. You just feel like, haven't got the appetite or the enthusiasm to go again next year. And I know everyone talks about Wenger and talks about Ferguson, but they're different times now as well, Peter.
Yeah.
The scrutiny and analysis is so much more. But like I say, be a huge loss to the Liverpool and to the Premier League.
Do you think he'll win the league?
I hope he does.
Yeah.
I love the way they play, and I've always loved his style of play, and it's totally different from the tiki-taka stuff that we see from other teams. And I'd much rather watch Liverpool than most teams. Yeah,
and of course, nice little emotional support from the Liverpool fans, but 4 trophies, it's a lot. Do you think it might derail, all the sideshow of him now, or do you think the players are going to respond and galvanise, everybody around the club to finish in a high?
No, I think it'll galvanise him, Peter. I think that he's got a very, very strong squad. He's got Andy Robertson just come back for injury as well. He recruited well in the summer. He needed to replace. He needed legs in the middle of the park, and he
just reads everything. He just honestly, it's unbelievable. Yeah. You are. Do you know, tell you something? I am honest with you. If I could actually see if we do PLZ science, I could make you sound like the most intelligent guy.
Albert Einstein.
It'd be Tom Einstein, wouldn't it? It really would. He's absolutely priceless. Listen, just before we go, what great news that Andy Robertson's back, because I'm worried about Tierney though. I'm worried about Tierney and the injury. So
Listen, Kieran, a fully fit Kieran Tierney is just as good as Andy Robertson for me.
Yeah.
I think there's not much in it between them. The only issue is, as Kieran keeps picking up injuries, I think he's picked up, another injury, and we're just hoping that he's got all right for the Euros, because that, him playing left centre half and Robertson either left back or left wing back is a great left hand side for us.
Yeah. Just one little thing, and I always I'm going to try and avoid finishing on a negative. So this little story, Ruffy, is something that you were well aware of as a player in the 70s. Crowd trouble. To see the West Brom fans, the game was stopped for 38 minutes, the FA Cup tie, West Brom and Wolves. And the trouble flared because I think some fans were in the wrong end, and it started to spill out. You could see people with cuts and head cuts, and it didn't look really good. It was really going back to an era where English football, one of the reasons why I think a lot of people didn't like their fans travelling anywhere, because they created chaos, and that was not nice to see.
Yeah, well, that's why it's so important with the ticket allocation. You don't want to see visiting fans get in there. And I think the worst thing about that whole scenario was that was a family area. It was a place where people bring their kids and everything, so it wasn't just adults that were in there. So that made it 10 times worse. And some of the scenes were terrible, but they just need to sort that out.
Yeah, and another little picture that filled me full of fear. And I was at the game, working for Sky, when you were trackside at Tynecastle. This one here is a man chased the referee on the pitch during the game Port Vale versus Portsmouth. Obviously, he'd awarded a late penalty, the referee, to Portsmouth, and the fan invaded the pitch. And you're looking, you're saying to yourself, somebody is
How
going...
old was the man?
He was 62.
62. I mean, what are you thinking about? 62-year-old man running on the pitch. I mean, he's either drunk or he's lost his marbles or whatever. One, he probably couldn't catch the referee. And two, but what are you thinking about in the first place? He's just embarrassing himself.
But I always thought at the time, I remember the attack on you, and you're thinking to yourself, you never know what somebody's got in their hand.
I know. I know. And seeing the scenes yesterday at West Brom Wolves, we grew up used to it. Yeah. And now when you see it now, it's abhorrent, because football now has moved on so much since those days, for the better, obviously. But, when you see it in isolation like that, you revile in horror. It was awful. And there should be a full investigation into that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And to finish off on a nice light note, here's a man born today, 1966, a Brazilian striker, a top Brazilian striker. Can you come up with his name rather than him? Rather than who's read it.
You may leave it to Neil.
It's Romario. Romario's birthday today.
Sousa Faria, is that his full name?
Yes, Romario de Sousa Faria. 700 goals. He's one of a few players to score 100 goals for 3 clubs.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny scored over 100. Well, I think a barrel load for Celtic and Liverpool, over 100 for both clubs. But for somebody to score 100 goals plus for 3 clubs is no mean feat. He was some player.
He was amazing. Absolutely.
Is he in the top 20 greatest ever players?
Yes.
He is?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? He's not for you, Ruffy, is he?
No, because I'd have to start thinking about the 20, and off the top of my head, I'm just wondering if I could get in there.
He was massive in '94 when they won the World Cup and that. PSV Barcelona. Some of the goals he scored for...
He was
Mario Bebeto, something good.
Remember he loved the toe poke and all, didn't he? That one where he boom.
Absolutely. Well, I always... Any striker I've ever spoken to worth his salt, and you say, great goals, and they went, any goal. Doesn't matter. Toe poke, a yard out, bang, who cares? Tap-ins. And the great line, Ruffy, and this is this is the one quote from Johan Cruyff that really just showed you how good a striker he was. He basically asked Cruyff if he could leave to go to the Carnival in Brazil. And it was a big game that Barcelona had. And he says, if you score 2 goals tomorrow, you can go. And he'd scored 2 in the first 20 minutes against Real Madrid, and he asked if he could be substituted because the plane was leaving in an hour. No, that is fantastic.
Brilliant.
I think Cruyff took him off and said, "On you go."
Aye, that's it.
You know, if you
Deal's
scored-
a deal. Deal's a deal.
Absolutely. Would you have done that yourself?
No, I'd rather
would you
kept them, get the hat trick.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, fantastic. Brilliant to have Neil, Ruffy, and of course Tam, Einstein, McManus here with us on the programme. God help us if he couldn't read. That would have been a nightmare. Absolutely good to have you following us. Thank you for all the positive comments that have been made about all the variety of programmes that we have on PLZ Soccer. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, download the podcast, and of course the app as well if you've got a chance. And thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening and watching today.